Air India is reportedly cutting as many as 100 daily flights. That's right, that's 100 flights being cut. Some of these are likely to be on the domestic sector as well, but mostly it's the international routes which are likely to be hit. And the geographies that get impacted are travel across North America, Europe, Australia, and also Singapore. Now, why this latest sort of decision to cut flights? It seems that the biggest concern right now are the soaring fuel costs, and ATF particularly, that's aviation turbine fuel, and those prices have been on the rise. Just few days ahead of the US and Israeli strikes on Iran, ATF was available for a little under $100 a barrel. Now, this ATF, or the aviation turbine fuel, makes up about 40% of the operational expenses of airlines. So from a little under $100 a barrel, ATF prices have now soared to as high as almost $180 a barrel. That's an 80% increase on an element which constitutes about 40% of the total operational costs of an airline. Now, Air India is not the only airline. In fact, we've seen much bigger numbers come from Europe. Lufthansa just a few weeks ago announced as many as 20,000 cuts to its flying schedule. Now, obviously, ATF continues to be one of the bigger concerns even for Europe. And Europe, unlike India, has been dependent on China. And just in the aftermath of the breaking out of the conflict in West Asia, China restricted the export of ATF. In fact, European airlines as well as some American airlines as well as those operating in South Asia have been hit by China's decision to cut ATF. India, on the other hand, refines its own ATF. In fact, the crude that comes from various parts of the world gets refined in India into multiple fuel forms, including aviation turbine fuel. But the cost, the input cost, going from a little under $60 a barrel, that is crude that I'm talking about at the start of the year, to trading as high as intraday $126 a barrel on the 30th of April, has obviously made the entire operation far more expensive for airlines. Now, the big question is, what is the government doing, or what can the government do? Well, simply put, the airlines operating in India, both Indigo as well as Air India and SpiceJet, did reach out to the government and did ask for some sort of a concession and some cost benefit accruing to them by way of government intervention. Now, the government has not directly added anything particularly for airlines as part of any compensation for these increased airfares. But on the other side, the government has tried to make the deal a little sweeter for OMCs, or the oil marketing companies. And oil marketing companies no longer have to pay windfall tax. Now, remember, windfall tax was added on oil marketing companies at a time in the aftermath of the Russia-Ukraine war, where crude prices had come down on account of the discounted Russian oil that India was buying, had come down to the vicinity of $50 to $60 a barrel. So, to prevent oil marketing companies from profit excessively out of those reduced input costs, the government, instead of passing on a reduced sort of a fuel pump cost to consumers, had added something called windfall tax. Now, that windfall tax is something which the government has eliminated, which means the oil marketing companies no longer have to pay windfall tax to the government. At the same time, export duties which were rampant on petrol, diesel as well as ATF have also been slashed. In fact, in an order last month, the government reduced the excise duty on refined petrol to zero. That continues to be the case even now. And on the 1st of May, the government has decided to further slash the export duty on ATF as well as diesel to about 23 rupees and 33 rupees respectively. Now, was this likely to impact the overall ATF cost? Well, one doesn't have an answer to that clearly right now, because export duty is only on the fuel which gets refined and exported out of the country. But aviation companies in India, airlines in India, continue to deal with the high input cost and the high ATF cost. And Air India deciding to slash 100 flights a day right now just seems to be one step before Air India perhaps increases its own number of flight cuts and other airlines follow suit as well.